You're tuned in to a Grown Folks production. In the mix with the commish, Nate.
And welcome in to Press Pass Live, your weekly OMFL podcast show. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, the commish, Nate. And as always, let me welcome in my buddy over here. Make sure I hit the right button this time. The commissioner of the Deuce and owner of the Atlanta Falcons, Mr. Maniac. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing good, man. Been a crazy weekend, crazy day. I know you've had a crazy day as well. But as always, it's nice to get in and talk about the OMFL and everything that's going on in the leagues.
It has been just one of those days, right? We all have them. We all go through them. It is just one of those days, but I am glad to be here talking about the OMFL as I did not have things loaded up, but I'm ready to do this. I feel like I gotta adjust this back to a two-man booth, and we'll talk about that a little bit later today. But let's do some recapping, and then we're gonna do some what to watch for. We got some OMFL news today. We're gonna crack open the OMFL kitchen today. Mr. Maniac designed our show, which I am very thankful for. I get tired of doing those things. I like to mix it up, get a different idea in there. So we're going to be frying, we're going to be baking, and we're going to be scrambling some teams and some players. We're going to be talking about buyers and sellers, and then we're going to open up the OMFL mailbag. Lots to talk about. My goodness. So let's just jump right into it, Mr. Maniac. Let's do a recap for weeks 2. That's right. We're going to do a recap for week number 2. I'm going to hand that one off to you.
All right. So recap for week 2. We set it out today. You and I are going to both talk about a game from each week, 2, 3, and 4. First off, though, we're going to talk about week 2. Just kind of looking at some of the matchups. Won't take a whole lot of time looking at. Well, we had a really good game with the Bills and Mounties. I don't know. The Bills have been really red hot, but the Mounties look like they had a pretty good game. Orlando kind of blew out the Houston Texans, but Texans are getting on a little bit of a roll. Giants, they had their first win of the season, and so far it's been their only win. A lot of good games. Our game, was a really good game. That was in overtime, I think, so that was a really good one. And I don't know which one you're going to talk about, so I don't want to go a whole lot over these. My guy
can't help himself. He's like, he picked his one game, and he still is like, oh, I still got to tell you about all these other ones, though.
I want to talk about them all, but man, we'll be here for 4 hours. And the Cowboys, 31 points on the Rams, just a shellacking. Cincinnati put up 27 on the Panthers. We're seeing the Las Vegas Raiders kind of go up and down. But the game I want to talk about this week, though, is the second game on the weekly agenda here, whatever it's the Arizona Cardinals at the Miami Dolphins. This game was a slugfest. It was like so many points scored in this game. Miami actually got the win here, 55-42. Where was the defense? Nowhere to be found in this game. The Cardinals had 500 yards of offense. The Dolphins nearly had 500 yards offense. Both teams had good rushing yards. The Cardinals had 400 yards passing. He's got a really good quarterback. The Dolphins really had 355 yards passing. That was really good. First downs, though, this is kind of a point that 26 first downs by the Cardinals, 23 by the Dolphins. There was no defense. They were getting a first down. They were getting yards at will in this game. Not a whole lot of turnovers by the Dolphins. But you look at the Cardinals, they had 6 turnovers, and they put up that many points. So, oh my goodness, what if they had not turned over the ball so much? That could have been a different story there. But that has to be the point of this game turning the way it did, with the Dolphins getting the win. Kind of looking at your players that made a difference in the game. Obviously, Henry had 4 touchdowns for the Cardinals, but he did throw 6 INTs. That is a lot of picks. And like we've talked about, you and I, you cannot win in this league turning the ball over. It's just impossible. Um, but man, what a great showing. Both teams put up a lot of points. We all know Gordon Hitchens there for the Dolphins. He's always in the top leaders so far this Madden, putting up points, putting up touchdowns. The interception ratio is always pretty well even killed with this guy. He's usually 3-1 on his touchdown interception ratio. But he put up a clinic to this game. 80% really was on point and the difference maker in the game. Now, rushing yards, both teams did manage to get some rushing yards, but did struggle. But you look at all those passing yards and who was catching those touchdowns. The young wide receiver for the Cardinals seemed like he kind of had a stellar day this game. 8 receptions, 157 yards. So maybe this is kind of an indication that Covington for the Cardinals is going to be a key weapon along with his other wide receiver that he drafted, Little. Both those guys are dynamic. Seem like he's going to get more touches in this season. But you look at the Dolphins, really their key is to spread the ball around. They've got so many weapons, a lot of speed, and so he gets it to Hill, he gets it to Waddle, and then he's got his new toy at the tight end, Njoku, and he picked him up in free agency, so he's making an impact already with 65 yards on a touchdown this game. Defense, though, again, we talked about really defenses didn't show up, but on the same key too, Miami's defense did show up for as getting the turnovers. Holland had 2 interceptions. Terrell had 2 interceptions. Ramsey had 2 interceptions. And it's like, you get an interception, we're going to double it. But again, this game, you look at it, it was one of those games like a lot of guys. Some guys like the defensive battles, some like the offensive battles. But this one definitely did not disappoint in excitement. There was some kind of craziness going on. It seemed like all game long, a lot of points scored, a lot of chain moving. Like I said, when you got over almost 50 first downs between both teams, there is not a whole lot of stoppage in that game. So anyway, that was my highlight game. And I think both these guys definitely know how to play offense.
Yeah, and Miami being able to capitalize off of all those turnovers really helped them actually kind of squeeze out a win there. I wanted to talk about Chargers and Chiefs. I did not get to finish fully watching this game, but what I understand, and maybe you know better than I am, and you can correct me, but the Chargers scored late in this game and decided we're going for 2 to win this game. Ended up getting like picked off or something in the end zone. End up losing this one 31-30, 378 offensive yards for the Chargers, 298 for the Chiefs. Chargers really struggled getting the running game going, did great in the passing, but a balanced attack from the Kansas City Chiefs. Only 1 turnover, which is a little bit compared to the 7 that we just looked at in the game that you covered. 4 first down conversions from both of these teams in a very close time of possession. Just came down to who can make a couple of more plays than the other one. Herbert, 4 touchdowns, 315 yards. Patrick Mahomes, though, only 133 yards. Now, he did pass for 68%. He only was sacked 1 time. He didn't turn the ball over, but the Kansas City Chiefs were getting it done on the ground. Tyree Harden, 3 touchdowns, 139 yards. On the Chargers side, it was Quentin Johnson, 6 receptions for 121 yards. And then Colin Ferguson right behind him, 6 receptions for 80. Both of those guys had a touchdown as well. And the Chargers come up just short of a big victory, though, for the Kansas City Chiefs, a team I'm sure that we're going to talk about throughout this show. One that's like sort of ran hot and cold this entire Madden cycle, but the Chargers, they're hot all the time. So to get a victory against them, even a 1-point victory, is something to be proud of. Let's take a look at week number 3. A lot of really good games in this one. Mounties and Patriots. Mounties have changed owners, so Probably not going to talk a lot about their games. Denver and Baltimore. Baltimore falls by 3. That one knocked me right out of the gold sheet and everything else. So I had to get all over nipples for doing that one. The Jets end Trey's sort of season. Not Trey. Yeah, Trey. Jeez, I'm looking at Tim and thinking Trey. I'm all confused here. Trey ended up retiring not long after this game. The Jets, though, flexing on the champion Lions. Tennessee with a 5-point victory over the Green Bay Packers. Orlando squeezing out a victory over the Washington Commanders. Seattle with a close victory over Carolina. I got to watch some of this game. That was a really close one. Pittsburgh squeezing out a victory against your Atlanta Falcons. And then Arizona and San Francisco sort of playing to a bit of a blowout. I'm not sure if this game actually got played. I actually forget. And then my Saints picking up their first loss, getting blown out by San Diego. I know you want to talk about a certain game on this one, so I'm going to skip that one, but I want to talk about Kansas City and the LA Rams. They're currently CPU, but we're going to get the new guy in there. We got to get him invited today. Smace is going to be taking over the LA Rams, but Kansas City now piling a couple of big-time victories up on top of one another. 452 total yards, 119 rushing yards, 333 passing yards. So the balanced attack last week against the Chargers, we now seen one go a little bit heavier with Patrick Mahomes having a hell of a day. 350 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was sacked twice. One thing we know about Shiloh is he brings the heat, he brings the blitzes, comes after you. Harden, 21 for 89 and 2 touchdowns receiving. Rashad Noel, 4 for 116, no touchdowns on the day. And then looking at the defense really quick, the sack leader was going to be Vander Esch and Young. They each picked up 1, and then 2 interceptions, 1 from Young on the Rams, 1 from McDuffie from Kansas City. But Kansas City, even against the Rams, as Shiloh moved over to his new team with the Mounties, getting a big victory and piling one up on top of one another. What's the game you want to look at in week number 3?
All right, week number 3 for me is the Condors and Commanders. This game shows it was a 34-31 victory for Orlando. Let's take a look at a little bit what happened in this game. Both offenses were really kind of set and going pretty well, but the key here, I think, was the time control by the Condors. You look at their rushing attack, 226 yards rushing compared to 85 for the Commanders. The Commanders did have a little bit more success with passing the ball. And if you look at the overall scale of things, it wasn't really real heavy towards the Condor side, but they did manage to almost put up 4 more minutes time of possession in this game. I think the key here, though, if you look at, they were 100% in the red zone, 4 touchdowns in the offensive red zone, compared to 60% by the Commanders, only 2 offensive red zone, and then they had to settle for that field goal, which, if my Texas math is right, that's the difference in this game. So if he gets that touchdown in the red zone, we're talking about the Commanders getting the victory here. Looking at some of the players, one player we want to keep an eye on with the Commanders this season is going to be their rookie quarterback, Cody Raines. He's having a pretty solid season so far. I know Bill had talked about, he spent that draft pick on him. He does have Jordan Love kind of sitting on the bench. But when you got a high draft pick invested in a guy, you want to see what they can bring to your team. And Cody Raines had 250 yards passing, 16 to 23, 69%. He was definitely on point in this game. Was sacked once, only had 1 interception, 2 touchdowns, though. Richardson for the Condors doing his thing, picking up kind of where he left off last season. He was red hot last season for the Condors. I think he had over 50 touchdowns, and his interception ratio was pretty much around that 2 to 1, 3 to 1 ratio. So he had a really great season last season. So he's kind of picking back up where he left off. For the Condors, though, you look at a guy that's been the bell cow for them since he's taken and moved the Colts to Orlando. and changed their name to the Condors. Jonathan Taylor has been that guy for the Condors. 21 carries, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns. If you got this guy on your fantasy team here in the OMFL, you're happy because he's putting up some points for you. Another guy that I like to look at is Shady Shevers, whatever. I don't know how you say that name, but
I like Shady Shevers. I don't know if that's correct. Bill's in the chat. He'll correct us.
yeah, he'll correct us. But first name Shady he's somebody that I had my eye on in the draft. So again, I like to kind of keep up with him, and prod myself for the rest of the season. Like, this is a guy you could have had, but he's didn't have a great day, but obviously 5 yards of carry, not bad. And so he's a guy that the Commanders are also going to build around. Receiving, not a whole lot of great things going on, but it was McLaren for the Commanders had 6 receptions, 92 yards. Not a whole lot going on for the Commanders. We're not seeing the numbers from Downs like we had last season. Downs was putting up 15 catches a game, nearly. Only had 4 catches this game. But I think if you look at the defensive side of things, Washington really has a good defense. They're very solid. They get after you, and they're going to be sure tacklers. You see the top 2 tacklers from the game. There's 2 listed here from the Commanders, Davis, Forrest. Both of those guys hit 8 tackles. And then you got guys from Orlando, Wheatley, Gallimore. These 2 guys are here. I think Wheatley is going to be one of those guys that's going to make an impact in this league. And he's also got this guy, Gallimore, on his defensive line. I think are going to make impacts as well. The defense, though, again, the Commanders, we've seen him when he was with Buffalo put basically the brakes on the Jets and their offensive output. He's kind of done the same thing on the NFC side, but when you got the Condors putting up this many points on him, it's a great battle, though. Great game. This was a game definitely to watch, and congratulations to Orlando getting that victory.
All right, let's take a look at week number 4, and for that one, I'm going to let you take it away.
All right, week number 4. Hate to talk about, our games, but I went ahead and I picked out this game. There was a lot of games to choose from, and again, I can talk for hours and make this a super long show. I want to point out one game, though. San Francisco and Las Vegas. Las Vegas actually kept this one pretty close. And I don't know which game you're going to talk about, so I'm not going to talk about a whole lot of different ones. So I'm going to get right into Atlanta and New Orleans. This game was definitely a good game. Both of our games, we had a game in week 2, had a break, and then back again the next week to play each other. So, but both games were just like nip and tuck all the way. First game went into overtime. This game was looking like it was going into overtime, and it was just one of those games where, like you said, it's a feel-good game. Even though you don't get the loss, like I lost in the other one, and I won this one. But it's one of those games that makes you feel like you're glad to be a part of the OMFL and the type of football that's being played on the sticks here. Offensive yards gain. You actually outdid me in this game, 324 yards. Your rushing attack, first game, you ran all over me. So my point of deal was like, I got to stop his run because if not, it's going to be a long day again. And we kind of held you in check, 92 yards that compared to 200 and something. I think the first game combined. Offense, I think the big story looking at this, not even in the stats, because you and I both were not very good in the red zone. If you look at the red zone percentage, 16 for you, 25 for me. We kind of struggled. First downs, we were almost kind of like the same 16 across the board for us, and we kind of struggled on third down conversions as well. But the big story was I benched Colt. in this game. Parker Cope took a seat. I started the second-year player Hayden Moore. He got his first start, and he didn't do too bad. He definitely had a couple bad moments, but he did pretty well. 15 to 24, 3 touchdowns. Did have the 2 interceptions and was sacked 3 times. Man, your defensive line was coming after me all game long. It seemed like. Your rookie guy, quarterback here, Mark Anthony, struggled a little bit through the 5 picks.
A little bit.
Definitely. I'm being nice, okay. But yeah, he did have struggles. And I didn't get the sacks on you, but there was a little bit of pressure, I think, coming here and there on you that kind of caused you to make some bad decisions. Again, you kind of held B.J. Robinson in check. You kept him to 78 yards. I did have a little bit more success than I did the first game, but no touchdowns scored by any of the running attacks by the team. So this was all produced in the air. I want to give you definitely props. So your offensive line has improved so much from last season. Your wide receiver core is one of the hardest across the board to cover because you've got weapons at least 4 deep that can pretty much stretch the field. So it's very tough to guard your wide receivers. Drake London did have a pretty good day. Not a lot of yards, 85 yards, 5 catches, but he did have the 2 touchdowns. Sears would not be denied a touchdown in this game as well. I don't know if you look at him, he's probably had a touchdown streak in quite a few games because he seems like he's always getting in the end zone at least once a game. 6 catches for 79 yards. Again, though, but talking about your wide receiver core, Rashid, he definitely is one of those underrated guys that once you bring him in, you better be aware of where he's at on the field because he's going to make his impact known. And he did get a touchdown catch. He only had 2 catches, but he was open for that touchdown, wide open. Defense, again, we talked about. We both did pretty well on defense. I think this game, with my game plan coming into this game was obviously stop your run, and that was one of the things that I was able to keep in check. Didn't completely stop it, but definitely kept it in check. And the guy that helped me a lot in this game to do so was Nwasu. He had 3 tackles for a loss. He was definitely in the backfield. He was actually chasing the quarterback a couple times, putting pressure on you. So that was like one of my big players. And a guy that's really stepped up for me this season compared to last season, Adrian Shepard. He had 2 picks in this game. I think he's pretty much, matched his total for interceptions already at this point from last season. So he's definitely stepped up. Looking at both our teams, I think we're both definitely struggling. We're still kind of middle of the road right now. But I think both teams are looking bright for the rest of the season and the rest of this Madden. So, but this was a good game to watch if you're just a fan of the OMFL.
Yeah, it was a good game, and I feel like I've been punched right in the mouth the last 2 weeks, so we got to get concentrated here. We threw them 9 interceptions in 2 games, just like it is just snowballed on me, and so I got to get focused and get going again. We wanted to talk about the Baltimore Ravens and the Desperados. Baltimore with a 33-27 victory over the Desperados. So he lays a complete egg that destroys the gold sheet and then comes back and beats an amazing team in Little Koch and the Desperados. 515 yards in offense, 165 on the ground, 350 in the air with 25 first downs. This guy was playing really good football. Dristic, I don't know, I can never say it right. 230, but Jackson 350. He did throw a pick, but he was not sacked at all. Lake had a pretty good game with 15 for 88. But Melvin Riddick, the rookie, 7 for 117, no touchdowns. Zay Flowers, 5 for 116. Both of these dudes were big play dudes, making massive plays all day long, along with 40 and 35. And then a quick look at the defense, which is usually where Baltimore shines, but they gave up a ton of points today. Owe was the sack leader with 1, the only sack on the day, and then Ward for Little Koch was the only guy to get an interception. And the Baltimore Ravens coming with a big victory that they needed here early in the season. Let's take a look at week number, what do we got? 5, 6, and 7. So I'll take a quick look at number 5, which is where we currently are. Kansas City and Las Vegas Raiders. I'm sure this will be a game that we talk about later on. Kansas City falls by 1 point after getting those big victories. He falls 28-27 here. What other games here? They're going to be really good. Vikings and Lions. You got Fleury and Tim, his first time with the Detroit Lions. That's going to be a really good game. Hopefully a rematch of OMFL Bowl 100 or 101. Jeez, I don't know. So many have gone since then, but Saints versus Bengals, that'll happen hopefully later tonight. Brand new Rams owner. Well, he actually is playing the old Rams owner in Shiloh. So hopefully we'll get, I want to keep saying Fleury, but Smason here as the Rams, and those two guys are going to go at it. And Shiloh, he knows that Rams team better than anyone. 49ers Seahawks. Yes. Sign me up. I want to watch this one. That's going to be a really fun game between two very good teams. Broncos trying to get some things going there. Cardinals, we know what they can do. Falcons, Bucks, that's going to be a ton of fun to watch. Chargers, Jets, and we've got some really pivotal matchups here. Chargers and Jets, Falcons, Buccaneers, sign me up for those. What about week number 6? What's up, Kevin and Bill?
All right, week number 6, we've got some possibly good matchups here. The Chiefs are kind of resurgent. The very first one off the board here is the Chiefs versus hosting the Seahawks. Have the Chiefs figured some things out? Have they arrived back into being a team that's going to be competitive? Well, here's a good matchup to find out, because Meek Boy and those Seahawks are tough to play. I'm telling you, they stretch the field so easy with that wide receiver core that he's got. So it should be a good matchup. Texans, Ravens. Roger, he is starting to get some things going, and definitely proud of Roger and the improvement that he's made. But we've got Mr. Nips here with his Baltimore Ravens. He's like the ultimate OMFL Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You don't know who is going to show up. You never know. But I'm telling you, like, those Ravens can put up points at any moment. And looking at the matchup here in the AFC South, you're going to look at the Condors versus the Titans. Penguins look like he's got his team rolling. The Condors looking to try to get back to the glory of the OMFL Bowl here. And so the Titans, though, are definitely going to be standing in the way, I think, this season of that. And this is going to be a great matchup to check out. You could look at the Commanders and the Cowboys. Definitely is always a good matchup between Bill and Dwayne. Dolphins, Patriots, lost sniper, Rusty. His quarterback has definitely gotten things picked up for him and helping his team to be competitive this season. Jaguars, Giants, this is probably one that you would want to avoid watching. I don't know. Both guys, it sometimes seems like they've struggled, and so both Giant fans, though, so it definitely could be one to watch as well. Buccaneers, Rams, Jets, Vikings. I think this one's going to be probably a good one. Both guys are, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, sometimes I get it mixed up, but I think both guys are buddies, and so Fleury facing off and hosting Kobe and his Jets probably would be a good one. Who knows, could be a potential bowl matchup in season 109. Desperados, I always call this one the Buddy Bowl. Yeah. But the Bengals and the Desperados, I think this is going to be a good game. Obviously, I don't know what you're going to get on the defensive side, but you're going to get some offensive fireworks in this game for sure. Both guys got dynamic wide receivers that can make you pay at any moment in the game. Panthers, Falcons, I think this one will be a good one as well. Bird, he has struggled a little bit, but I think he did get his first win. on the season, but man, he is always a tough out. The new look Lions with Tim face off Big Hurt. This will be a big test for him to see if he's actually going to be competitive against some of the big dogs with his favorite team. And that would be my lookout for week 6.
I'll take a look at week number 7, but a quick update. 7-0 Seahawks. 4 minutes left in the third quarter. 49ers have the ball on the Seahawks side of the field. So a great defensive game. Not something we see a lot here, especially with the all-pro settings, but it looks like a good game going on. Don't leave us, though. You can kind of second screen the other one. Week number 7, Ravens, Condors. You said it perfectly. You never know what you're going to get with the Ravens, but he better show up to this game to play or he's going to get punched right in the mouth. These two guys had a classic game late in the season, maybe playoffs. I'm getting mixed up. I think it was late in the season where basically they had a bit of a disagreement. Nipples didn't like what he was seeing in RPOs or something. I don't know. Nipples gets frustrated by things, and he just basically quit on the game. He finished it. He didn't quit, but he just stopped trying. So hopefully we get to see him trying for the entire game here. What are some good games? Who knows what Mounties versus Vikings look like by the time we get to week number 7. Hopefully that's going to be a really fun game to watch. Panthers and Saints should be fun. I don't know what's going to happen with my team by then. Bird is still trying to figure his team out. I think it's all mental for Bird, though. If Bird can get his confidence going, I think he's going to bounce back pretty quickly. 49ers and Chiefs might be a really fun one. Commanders and Eagles, those guys always battle it out and have really good games. Giants and Rams, we're going to have a brand new Rams owner by then. Giants and Colin also still trying to find some big momentum. Chargers and Cardinals, that's going to be a great one. Steelers and Bengals, that's going to be a great one. But I think low-key, Desperados and Buccaneers might be a really, really, really good one. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the OMFL news. Let's bring in our buddy, Mr. I was like, where'd he go? Let's bring in our buddy, Mr. Denbrew, for the OMFL news. Take it away, buddy.
Welcome back to the OMFL news. I am Denbrew, and here we go. Season 109, and we just advanced to week 5 late yesterday. See, a couple of games have already finished up. What we got this week? So we say goodbye to Trey, longtime owner of those Detroit Lions, current OMFL champ, and just an all-around good dude. Trey, you'll be missed. Trey was always like super in tune with what was going on in the OMFL. He knew about everybody's team, who was playing who was who had what draft picks. He was just very in tuned, and he provided a lot of good insight on these on the Press Pass Live weekly show and then the draft shows. He was very in tuned. He loved his Detroit Lions, and I'm sure we'll see him again back here in the OMFL, but until then, take care of yourself, Trey. So when someone leaves, we always welcome in a new owner, and I'm not so sure I know this guy. I don't think I've played against him ever. He'll be taking over the LA Rams, and what I thought was funny was the Rams play the Mounties, and the Mounties owner is now the old Rams owner. So Shiloh Bad taking over the Mounties from Tim, who's leaving to go to the Detroit Lions to take over his home team, yada, yada, yada. But anyway, Rams and Mounties this week face off. So new owner versus old owner there. Segment 2 coming up. We're going to take a look at some rookies and see what's going on there. But until then, I'm going to throw it back to Nate and Maniac. See ya.
Thank you, Mr. Denbrew. Appreciate you. It's funny that Denbrew was here on audio with us in spirit, but he's in chat physically. So a lot going on. Good to see the chat finally popping off and waking up over there. I was wondering where everybody was for Press Pass Live. All right, let's go to the OMFL Kitchen. This is a segment that our guy Maniac designed for us. We're going to talk about fried bacon scrambled. Let's get it started here with who's hot, who's fried. Mr. Maniac, what team do you think is frying hot right now?
Looking at this, man, got to pull out the old apron and get ready to get down and dirty with the with the OMFL. So definitely looking at the red hot the team that is frying hot right now. So if you look at who's undefeated, it doesn't take you long to figure out like some of these teams who are red hot. But I want to look at the Dallas Cowboys and D. Wayne. If you just look at the stats from the points for and the points allowed, he's only allowed 57 points so far on the season. That is insane. He's scored 150. And that's he's tops in the league right now. The Seahawks are the next best. And we just talked about the Seahawks being in a close game right now with the 49ers. So definitely he's kind of living up to that as well. But you look at the Cowboys, what they bring to the table for his offense, and you look at the stats. The Cowboys are always going to be a team that's going to be looking at trying to get the running game going. And then you look at what he does from off of that. He's looking to get his play action pass going with his quarterback and looking at his receivers. I know he's got a great tight end that he's imported over, and that guy just seems to be like the ageless wonder. He's almost like some of the other tight ends like Jason Witten of the past days for the Cowboys. It seems like he goes forever. But you look at the Cowboys on their offensive side right now, 589 yards rushing. That is second right now in the league. Only behind, which I'm real surprised, is the Packers at number one. But the Cowboys are the top rushing team as far as being that hot spot right now in the OMFL. He's passing the ball really well, getting rushing touchdowns, though. 11 rushing touchdowns. That is tops. That's 3 more than the next guy, which is also in his division, 8, the Commanders. So he's getting it done on the ground. Offensive first downs, you look at what he's doing with first downs, 82. That's second right now in the NFC with 82 first downs. So the Giants actually have 100, which I don't really know why Colin is struggling, but he is struggling. But, man, the Cowboys just get things done. And then you look at on the defensive side of the ball, they are top in the defensive side. We already talked about the points they're giving up. The amount of rushing yards they're giving up, though, is second best in the league, only behind the Seahawks. But you look where they're really shining, offensive passing yards given up. They've only given up 532 yards of passing offense. That is absolutely you're going to struggle and when you're trying to pass the ball against the Cowboys. So he's just dynamic against the pass. So that is my team right now to look at that is frying hot in the OMFL.
And there's so many teams that we could talk about. What's up, PBC? I'm sure the guys in the chat will let you know about who we are and what we are all about. World's longest and oldest online CFM started in 2001, so come check us out. We don't have any spots in this CFM, but we have spots in our second CFM. You could work your way up if you stay plugged in, and if we're for you, because our style is kind of different. Anyway, guys in the chat, y'all do your thing. We could talk about the Bills. We could talk about the Seahawks. We could talk about the Bucks, the 49ers, the Bengals, the Jets. Heck, you could even talk about the Chiefs, who are 3-2 and got a little bit of a winning streak until this past week where they lost by 1. I'm just saying there's a lot of really good teams, but a lot of teams that we sort of maniac talk about all the time. Mr. Denver, I still feel the shots fired from you a couple years ago when you were like, all you guys do is talk about the NFC. I know that we do talk a lot about specific teams, well, because those specific teams win a lot around here. But, man, I got to talk about the Tennessee Titans. We got to give Pepper some of Penguins some love as he has really figured things out. He is sitting at 4-0. He is 8th in points for, 6th in points allowed. Now, he's not doing great on the offensive passing yards per game. He's 31st. He's 5th in offensive rushing yards per game, 29th total. So that passing yards really have hurt him. He's 20th in total defensive passing. 13th in defensive rushing, 18th in total passing or total defense. But the Tennessee Titans were a complete rebuild for him. he goes over there, gets the left-handed hooker to come from Detroit. He's got Nick Samuels, who's been there for a couple years. He's moved away from a couple of other quarterbacks. He's sort of, I think, dealing with some injuries from time to time with Hooker, but Samuels can still get the thing done whenever he is in there. Shamar Weaver's got 58 for 315. He's averaging almost 6 yards a carry. Spears is over 6 yards a carry, and then he likes that Trey offense. Even gets in a couple wide receiver screens from time to time, reverses, things like that. Lowry's got 2 for 48. Receiving wise, Evans is his big guy. Duke Evans, 6 foot out of Michigan State, 11 receptions so far this season, 259 with 3 touchdowns. Not even going to try this name. You guys can read it. And this tight end's got 6 for 96. Myers, 5 for 96. So, in other words, he knows how to spread the ball out. And anything I've learned about Penguins is he plays really good defense. He's going to attack you in specific spots where he knows that he's got the upper hand. And on offense, he's going to be very efficient. He's going to be looking for ways to sort of pick you apart. And you've got to give it to him. A roster that isn't going to be one of the top-rated rosters in this league, and yet he finds himself at 4-0. All right, what teams are baked? There's like sort of almost there, but not quite there. Teams that are like right on the cusp of being really, really good. There's a lot of teams that we could talk about, and we've already talked about a couple of them here today. And I think there is the team that you're going to talk about, which would have been mine. I think that team is going to be a ton of fun. The one that pops into my head is tough. I want to talk about the Ravens, but it's like, is it their team or is it their owner? Because we never know what we're going to get from our guy Nipples. So let's go ahead and talk about the team that is already in the chat. Where's he at? Mr. Fleury says both the Vikings games are fixed to be blowout losses. I don't know what anyone's saying. Vikings 4-13 season incoming, but we're going to talk about the Minnesota Vikings because I think they're a team right there on the cusp. Now Fleury's been there for, I think he joined middle, late, something like that last season. Maybe he was here all last season. It all blends together for me, but he shipped off what would have been a franchise quarterback. He brings over Brock Purdy, who's started the last couple of games, though Sherrod also has some playing time here. So maybe he's still twinking and moving and like twiddling and trying to find the guy that he really, really wants. But the last game that I watched was Brock Purdy. A small arm, but a pretty accurate arm. An offense that's still trying to get there. Still a quarterback away, but one that has a pretty good run offense in Tyler Algiers. He's got almost 250 yards, only a 4.7 average, but he's got some potential there. Shaq Massey, he's then been there now for 3 seasons. He's got 107 yards. Justin Jefferson, the guy's a stud. Probably one of the more underutilized talents that we've seen so far this Madden cycle. 25 for 465, 2 touchdowns. Hockenson still getting it done, 15 for 254. And then on defense, he's got some pieces over there. Sign, a free safety, has 34 tackles to lead his team, 1 tackle for loss. His sack leader is Denzel Pollard, a defensive tackle out of Oklahoma, and his interception leader is my guy Cardell Flott. Loved him at LSU. He was so much fun. He's now got 3 interceptions there for Minnesota, and I think they're one of those teams that has a schedule that's going to favor them. He's got to get the quarterback thing, and I think ultimately that quarterback thing for so many of us is sort of just a mental thing. It's like make a decision, stick with the guy, stick with what he does well. Maybe that guy's Brock Purdy. Maybe he goes back to Sherrod. You had some quarterbacks when you were in Minnesota for a little bit there, and we've seen like what that offense can look like whenever you get a quarterback. I think Minnesota is right there on the cusp. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, man, that was a great pick for your baked team here. My team that I'm looking at, that's baking in the oven. We're poking it, seeing what's happening. Is it ready to mature, or are we going to have to bake it a little longer? And so the Desperados are my team that I'm going to look at here. I think
Maniac, I can't speak for everybody, but I got to say I'd like to be baked a little bit longer. Just baked it all on a Monday would be good.
Me too, man. There's never anything wrong, I think, with being baked just a little bit longer. So
we got to bring our Pootie in here for he's the baked expert. I'm pretty sure he could help tell us exactly what we need.
But you look at the Desperados, what he's done in the last couple of drafts. He's built this team, and really the Desperados, which is formerly the Browns. The last couple of Maddens, they've been a pretty solid team to start off with in a Madden. They've got their defensive side of the ball has been the best side of the ball to start off with the Browns, and you start kind of adding some pieces to the offense, and you kind of have a team that's ready to compete after a season or two really well. But you see what Little Koch has done with that team through the draft. He's drafted really well. He's drafted a couple of guys that are just absolute studs on offense. And then he's drafted this quarterback, Dreislick or whatever, however you say his name. But, man, the dude has just been a stellar. You look at his offensive output in the offense ranking of the OMFL. He's about number 8 right now in offense total yards, 1980. So he's only 20 yards away from producing 2,000 yards so far on the season. The passing yards is where he excels, 1,123 yards. That's going to put him about 10 or so there in the league. He's also putting up some decent rushing yards, but where he's really excelling, he's actually putting up almost 30 points a game. And he's pretty much even keel across the board on the offense for his touchdown output from his passing and his rushing attack. He's still struggling, I think, a little bit on defense. Sometimes this Madden, it can kind of force your hand. We've all had the situation where it's like, I can't get no pass rush, or I can't get this, and so sometimes that can be a stumbling block for a lot of owners and stuff. But I think looking at what his team's given up, his team's given up 101 points. That's gonna be about middle of the road. But when you look at the teams that are ahead of him, a lot of that can be skewed, because when you look at the Cowboys and then the Seahawks only giving up 50 and 60 and 70 points. He's kind of right there, and so he's not getting the a lot of turnovers or the sacks from his team. He's only got 5 sacks and 6 interceptions, but he's really forcing guys to make key decisions or tough decisions in the games that he's playing. And then you look at some of his players. Forgive me as I scroll over here.
Well, while you're scrolling,
Madden.
can I just quickly say he's got 6 interceptions on the year? 5 of them were versus me.
Oh no, I didn't mean to bring up bad
I
memories for you
single-handedly
there,
put
buddy.
people in the Pro Bowl. That's what I do around here.
But Dry Stick, man, he's not putting up great numbers so far this season, but he's got 5 touchdowns. He's being pretty efficient, 62%. He's got nearly 1,200 yards passing. Rushing, again, not a whole lot. Just to really look at, Nick Chubb is basically his go-to guy. But again, there you only see that team. He's only got like 4 touchdowns with him. Then he's got a young guy in Morton that's also a power back. So, but where you look at his team, where his weapons lie, is Eli Barkley, the second-year player out of Ohio State. He's 5'8", but man, the guy has speed to spare, and he seems to get open everywhere. And then on top of that, he goes and drafts this guy, Levi Mills, that just kind of steps in and does almost the same thing that Barkley does. So, and then you throw in that he picked up Dallas Goedert in free agency. So he really did address his offensive side, and you're seeing that he's starting to reap some of the benefits from that. again, he's at 2-3, 3-2. I'm not sure exactly what his season record is right now, but you see that he's just kind of getting to the point where, like, at any moment, you can see him go on a run and rack off 5-6 wins and be right in the thick of the playoff hunt here in the OMFL. So watch out. Keep an eye on the Desperados and see how they turn out the rest of this Madden.
The Seahawks are going to win this one 10-0. Anybody can shut out D-Money is somebody that should pat themselves on the back. Let's talk about what teams.
Put some respect on that name.
You got to put some respect on his name, but he also has to prove it in the playoffs, which is something that D-Money has done many, many, many times. Let's talk about the teams that are scrambled. It's completely over for them. Throw them away. What team you want to talk about?
So this may be a little bit of a controversy and may raise some eyebrows. But I'm looking at, just for the simple fact, the two teams that we just talked about, the Seahawks and the 49ers in the game that they just played. My team that I'm looking at, and this has nothing to do, like, I'm not headhunting or whatever, but the Cardinals, man, as shockingly as it is, they are 1-3. When you're looking at 1-3 in that division, and those guys are playing the way they're playing, that's already, you're looking for an uphill battle. The thing I want to look at, though, is his offensive points for and his points allowed. He's allowing 145 points so far on the season, and that's going to be nearly top 5 on the wrong end looking at that. So that's definitely one of the ones that you don't want to be on. Again, he's in the division where he's got D-Money and he's got Meat Boy there, so that's going to be tough. Uphill battle. He is putting up pretty decent offense. He's 134. That's going to be about middle of the pack, and so far in the OMFL. But really, when you're looking at a team, what he's added, where he was at last year, you're seeing a little bit of regression. And of course, we talked about fried bacon scrambled. This team's kind of looking like they're scrambling a little bit. So looking in at some of the player stats from this team, when you look at his quarterback, I know that's the spot where really he's played well in seasons past with his quarterback play, and also his wide receivers. He really gets his wide receivers involved. Looking at Austin Henry, though, he struggled a little bit so far this season. He's only hitting 62% of his passing. He's 8 touchdowns compared to 14 interceptions, so he's turning the ball over. And we didn't see quite that much of a turnover from him, I think, last season. He's only been sacked 4 times. He's actually got a decent offensive line. But again, another spot where you see him struggling a little bit is in the running attack. His top running back, Jamal Wilkinson, was just really in the top 5 to 10 last season, this Madden. But this season he's struggling a little bit. He's 49, 256 yards. Maybe he's not putting a lot of emphasis on the running attack. He is getting 5 yards a pop, but he's only got 4 touchdowns so far on the season. Looks like he's kind of struggling a little bit to get his offense rolling, maybe getting his offense solidified in the game. So maybe he's getting behind a little bit and just having to air it all out and go after that. The one spot that you're seeing that he has maybe had some success with is his first year receiver. We talked about him a little bit already, Kyle Covington. And he was a top draft pick, but wasn't used a whole lot last season. This season, he's got 21 catches, leading the team right now with 466. But again, we talked about his defense, the points given up, struggling on defense. He's not getting a lot of interceptions, not getting a lot of sacks. And I know we made the change over, can't use the defensive tackle. And so maybe this is affecting him a little bit more than it affected some other guys. and I know he did have Aaron Donald retired. So again, that anytime you have that kind of a big piece retire from your team, definitely going to hurt you in the long run. But again, this team, I think, looking at his schedule, where he's at with the guys that he's having to face, definitely starting off with a 1-3 record at this point in the season, you got to hand him over to in the scrambling position.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Rams. I think their season's over. You got a team that is going to inherit a brand new owner who has. I got to talk with Smace a little bit yesterday. He's got a lot of personal heavy things going on, and so he's going to join. It's going to take him a little bit to kind of get going. So an owner who's going to be tough to get going. An 0-4 team, a team that is lacking some talent, a rookie quarterback. We know that those rookie quarterbacks are hard to get going in arguably the toughest division that our entire league has right now. I mean, it's an argument. I will say it's not a hand me down like toughest division, but it is in the argument, the conversation for one of the toughest divisions. We just seen, what Meek Boy just did, shutting out D-Money, which you probably count on two fingers how many times D-Money has been shut out in his Madden career. And so division, new owner, rookie quarterback, a team lacking some talent. They should have plenty of cap and plenty of draft assets moving into next season. But I pretty much would have to say this season is going to be over for the LA Rams. And that's a look at the OMFL kitchen. Now we want to talk about some impact players here. I actually want to talk about, or actually hand this one off to you to talk about impact players. We're going to talk about some impact players for both offense and defense. So we'll kind of go back and forth. I'll let you pick, are we starting offense or are we starting defense? But who's an impact player that you got your eye on?
Okay, I want to start off with the offense. Definitely a guy that we've seen drafted highly. It's helped his team actually improve and be more competitive in the OMFL since his time that's came into on his team here. And the guy that I'm looking at is Rusty Starr, the quarterback for the Patriots and Lost Sniper. So far this season, he is one of the top quarterbacks. I think right now he's listed as the top. 1,547 yards passing, 104 completions, 172 attempts, 60%, but he's averaging about 300 and almost 10 yards a game. He's put up a rating, 100 rating, 100.6 rating, yards per attempt, 9 yards. So he's really pretty much almost every time he throws the ball, he's getting close to a first down or first down. He's only been sacked 4 times. His offensive line was one of the top Pro Bowl getters from this last season. Really, definitely has improved his offensive line. So that has helped his guy here, Rusty Starr. 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's really been an impact player for the Patriots, and you see him making his mark in the OMFL.
Yeah, I want to stay in the AFC, and I actually want to go over to the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, they had a tough loss this week by 1 point, but we talked about how they piled a couple of big victories there on top of one another early. And I think you got to look at Tyree Harden. 5'10", 228 out of Georgetown. His second year, man, he's got some things going. 90 attempts, 425 yards, a 4.7 average, and 8 touchdowns already this season. I think he brings balance to that Kansas City Chiefs team. It allows Mahomes to be a bit more picky about making passes because he knows he has a really good running game that can pick up first downs, keep drives going, keep the ball going, get that momentum and that confidence, which so many of us really need. The key for him has not been quarterback, has not been playmakers. Just get a running game going. We've seen him cycle through several different running backs. Harden is now the guy, and he's proven to be the difference maker for Kansas City.
All right, so that's a good pick. We've seen that guy. We kind of question, just to kind of go off that, we kind of questioned him when he got rid of CMC and well, of course, he got rid of the guys with D-Money now to start off with, but he's really made a nice pickup with that guy, and he's really proven that he's a special player in the OMFL. looking at the defense, my interest is drawn over here to the NFC East. Looking at the Commanders team, again, we've talked about teams that could possibly push Dwayne and make an effort to maybe get that top spot away from Dwayne, since he's kind of that locked down pretty much this whole Madden so far. But you look at a guy, Bill. He's a strong defensive coach, and he always seems to get the most out of his team. And none other than his cornerback, Emmanuel Forbes. This guy has been all over the field. He's got 23 tackles. He's even got a tackle for a loss, so he's making plays behind the line of scrimmage. Not a whole lot, but I mean he's out there on an island, so it's kind of unusual to see a lot of plays made behind the line of scrimmage by a cornerback. But where he shines is in his coverage. 8 interceptions. He's had those 8 interceptions. He's also got 1 touchdown off of those interceptions. And he's also got 3 deflections. This Madden's kind of hard to get any kind of deflection thing to rate, and he's got 3 of them. So I've seen a lot of top cornerbacks not even have a deflection, which is crazy. But he's definitely locking down that side for the Commanders, making it tough on the opposing teams to get their passing game going. So if you play the Commanders, you better watch out for this guy because he is an impact player in the OMFL.
I absolutely agree. PBC, thanks for the chat. The guys are in there trying to help. So I'll run through a couple of quick things. I got to get back to the show because we're already, an hour and a half deep? Oh, no, a little over an hour deep. So we've done pretty good here in the second half. So you got to be 18 or older. If you are, the link to our Discord is in the chat. You join, follow the steps. The Deuce is the league that has openings. This guy right below me, Mr. Maniac, or if you're vertical, right next to me, he is the commissioner of the Deuce. You have to read our rules. We play pretty differently, and so you got to make sure that you're cool with it. It fits your style, what you want. You got to take a quick quiz that just lets us know, hey, I actually read this stuff. And then you got to play a board member to show that you are willing to play by our rules. If all that is good, then they get you a team. You play in the Deuce for a little bit, kind of show that you're active, that you can play by our rules, that you're good. And then as an opportunity comes open, we offer slots to the Deuce first before we look outside of that. So the OMFL is full. We don't have any openings. You got to start the Deuce. If the Deuce is not your vibe, we have the NBC. They play more open. It's just kind of a different style. It's click. You can do kind of a normal play league with sim rules. And so if you're looking for something like that, the NBC might be for you, or maybe none of those Madden leagues are for you, which is cool. We got shooters. We got all kinds of other stuff. Anyway, I've already over-talked it. Join the Discord. Follow the steps. It'll walk you through everything. I want to talk about the guy that you talked about a little bit earlier, and that is the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons. You being a Dallas Cowboys fan with the Dallas Cowboys shirt on, you know this guy in real life is an absolute monster. And in the OMFL, it is absolutely the same. Micah Parsons already has 8 solo tackles, 7 assists, 15 total tackles, 8 tackles for loss, and 7.5 sacks this season, leading the OMFL. He has helped that defense only give up the 53 or 58 points that he's given up this season, start out the 4-0 or 5-0 start that he is already off to. And so he is getting it done for the Dallas Cowboys. And when Dwayne can put pressure on you with that guy, plays the middle linebacker, shut down the middle of the field, I mean, there's not a whole lot else that you can do. You start scrambling, throwing picks, trying to figure out how to attack this guy. Dwayne is one of the tougher owners here, if not arguably top 3 toughest owner to be able to attack on offense, and Micah Parsons is helping him get it done. All right, we got buyers and sellers before we get to the trade line and the OMFL mailbag, but before we do it, let's bring in our dude, Mr. Dimbrew, for the OMFL news. It's so hard to talk and look and do things, and I'm getting it done. Here we go, Dimbrew, take it away.
Welcome back, segment 2, and as promised, I'm going to take a look at some rookies. Looking at some rookie quarterbacks. We got 5 rookie quarterbacks that have seen some decent amount of playing time, and they are on the struggle bus. Combined, these 5 rookie QBs, 11 touchdowns, and they've thrown 31 interceptions, so a little bit of a struggle for all of the rookie QBs. Stat-wise, anyway. Rookie running backs. Not a lot of numbers jumping off the page on the rookie running backs, but is it Cheevers out there in D.C. with 7 touchdowns for the Commanders, and then we got Burton over in Arizona. He's averaging a little over 7 yards a carry there, so decent production. Nothing eye-popping at running back as far as the rookies go. Wide receivers, a couple guys making some noise. Taven Lambert for the 49ers, having the best season among rookie receivers. He's got 31 catches, 585 yards, and 9 touchdowns. The 31 catches is by far the most. What do we got? Taki? Is that how you say it? And I don't remember who took him now that I'm thinking about it. 15 catches, 473 yards. Maybe that's Jacksonville that has him. Anyway, averaging, the big thing that jumped off the page was his 31 yards a catch, so he must have some speed and is lighting up some DBs early on in the season. Defensive rookies, I thought this was interesting. The Seahawks have got 2 rookie defensive ends, Stryker Clemens and Eric Brown. They've combined for 4.5 sacks through 4 games this season, so good production out of the rookie D ends there in Seattle. And then we had 3 safeties, Cliff Claiborne, Chris Nails, and Derek Johnson, all of those guys with 2 interceptions on the year. 3 safeties, 2 INTs so far through, I think, 4 games for all of those teams. Booze and brews. So brew for the week, I got to give it up to the folks that are undefeated. The Bills, I think they just went to 5-0 last night. The Buccaneers, the Cowboys, the Seahawks, the 49ers, and the Titans, all undefeated. So cheers to all of you guys. And my lone boo was John Cena. I don't know if you guys saw that last night. My wife's a award show watcher, so we had the Oscars on last night, and he did like a shuffle out onto the stage. He was basically naked, had a winner's envelope over his stuff, and he just made us all look bad. I don't care what you look like. John Cena looked like he was put together, chiseled out of stone or something. But yeah, he made us all look bad. So my boo to John Cena for making the rest of us dudes look bad. He don't do that. All right, that's all I got. See you.
Thanks, Mr. Denbrew. I did not watch the awards show. I was just waiting to hear somebody got smacked. And thanks, John Cena, for showing your dong on national television. Appreciate you doing that. But probably gosh. 32 out of 32 owners here, or 31 out of 31 owners could embarrass me. So it doesn't take John Cena of the world to do that. Let's talk about buyers or sellers. Then we're going to open up the OMFL mailbag. We got to get going here. So we're going to do one buyer, one seller. Buyers are a team that we think here just 1 or 2 moves to get over the hump right before the trade deadline and make a run for the playoffs. Sellers, teams that need to turn their attention to season 110 and start to relieve themselves of assets and gather maybe some draft assets. Let's talk buyers or sellers here. I'm actually going to go sellers first, and I think it's going to be the Detroit Lions. Tim got his favorite team, but he didn't build them. They're the best team on paper, overall-wise, offense-wise, defense-wise. They are absolutely loaded, but Tim is freaking out about the cap situation that he has inherited. And you can see already in the chat, he's looking to move some really big names. Tim, make sure you get value, okay? You don't always get value for some of the trades I've seen you do. This is a prime opportunity for you to take over a really great team, your favorite team, and get rolling here and get some wins under your belt and turn things around there in Detroit. I mean, they are the champion, the defending champion, so we're believing in you. But I look for him to be a seller as he's a bit worried for next season already. Who's your first buyer or seller?
Man, that's a great pick. Definitely glad to see Tim get his favorite team, and he should be set for next Madden because they're going to have a good rating to start out with. Looking at the team, same division, looking at the NFC North, I'm looking at the Packers, looking at their cap space right now. He's still negative $560K on cap space right now. And then looking at what he's doing in the season right now, and then looking at all the contracts he has on coming up that he's going to have to be signing, I don't know where he's going to get the cap space. So he needs to be looking at selling, moving some of these guys, possibly making some room on his team to compete again next year. I know he's got Jair Alexander. He's up for contract. Several other guys that are just probably going to be hard for him to make spots for. We've seen him make some moves in the past. So, again, though, I definitely see the Packers being a team that needs to be a seller and make some moves. Even if it doesn't help him now for this Madden, but maybe he gets a draft pick that he can take for an import for next Madden or something. So.
For buyer Maniac, I actually want to go in a little bit of a weird direction just to be a bit different here. I'm going to say the Mounties. The Mounties need to be a buyer. You got a brand new owner taking over a team that isn't just, they're just a couple of moves away. You've got Cash over there, who's a playmaker on defense. He's got some wide receiver ability. Like, he's got some really good players. You have the number 1 draft pick this past season playing out at cornerback. So he's got some assets. He likes to be aggressive on defense. And so he is in a winnable division now. He has got assets. He's got cap room. He needs to be a buyer. He's 1 or 2 moves away from making a run at the playoffs. Now, I think he also needs to be a bit calmer on his play calling. Like, I think if he just played a bit more, not as aggressive on defense, he could maybe pile up a couple more wins. But he has the prime opportunity here with the old Chicago Bears, now Mounties. They've been through 100 different teams. They've moved around a whole bunch. But he is just 1 or 2 moves away from making a run. Who's your buyer?
All right, my buyer, looking at this guy, he's a former champion, just a couple seasons removed. You're looking at the Condors. I think looking at some of his guys he's got coming up for contract, they're getting older, and I think he can stand to get a little bit younger. But also he's got quite a few that are coming up for contract, and so maybe look at moving some of these guys, but also buying in some guys that are maybe got a couple years left on their contract. He's got $50 million in cap space. I know he's probably got a couple guys that he wants to re-sign, but a lot of guys that he's got are kind of fringe guys, and maybe if you can pick up another impact guy for your team at a certain spot, one of these fringe guys are there that's going to eat up maybe $15 million of your cap. Why not go ahead and maybe make a move? Look at a guy that maybe he's going to cost like $20 million on your cap, but he's also going to be a really impact player at that position that could possibly make a big difference. One, I think, would be looking at cornerback, and then I also think that maybe he might want to look at possibly on linebacker. I think he's got a couple of guys that are really good, but maybe if he gets somebody to go along with, I think it's Shaq Lawson or whatever, but one of those guys that he's got on there, if he gets another guy to go with him, you're talking about a totally different front seven on that Condors team.
PBC, thank you, bro. I appreciate you. PBC has joined the Discord, Mr. Maniac. He has the Deuce fan. I'm pretty sure he is the Deuce fan. Let me just double check that before I just say that. I'm pretty sure he has the Deuce fan. He has the Deuce fan. He's reading the rules. So Maniac will take over, or the board will take over and help walk you through the steps, PBC, as soon as we are finished. And we do need to land the ship because I heard a grandbaby in the front. I don't know why she's here. The dog in here is now whining. She wants to go see the baby. So I need to pee. I've needed to pee for like an hour. So we do need to land this ship. I put a couple of questions in the mailbag on hold. So Little Koch will come back to your questions. There's somebody I held last time. Bronco Man, we're going to come back to your question, I promise. The clock means we're going to come back to it. Let's answer 2 of Bill's questions. I think they're quick, easy, and pretty good questions. Bill says, with Trey's departure from the OMFL and Tim Lyons and Shiloh Bow Mounties now filling out the NFC North, how do you see the NFC divisional race unfolding in season 109? Can none of them make it? I don't know. I suppose if I had to pick, though, it would be Vikings with the Mounties pressuring him. I am praying. I am hoping. I want Tim to prove me wrong. I want to see him win. He's got his favorite team. But, boy, he's got so many people on the trading block right now. I don't know if he's going to have a team to finish out this season. Tim's shipping them all out of there. Don't mess up a good situation you got going here, Tim. I like the Vikings to win it, but look for Mounties. If he makes a couple of moves, chills out on the defensive blitzing, calms down with his play calling, he's going to push the Vikings. But I think this one's for the Vikings to win.
Tim, do not trade with D-Money. Do not trade with D-Money.
If D-Money slides in your DMs, you should already think, that's probably a bad deal for me. D-Money ain't looking to help nobody but D-Money.
Yeah, exactly. So, this one's a loaded question. I mean, it really is. And now with the departure of Trey, Tim taking over the Lions, it really could go any direction. I've seen Tim play really good ball in the Deuce, and in fact, he's playing in the Deuce NFC Championship game against the Eagles.
Nice.
So he's been able to play really well with his Lions. So I would be interested to see if he can have that kind of success over here in the OMFL. But I have to lean towards the Vikings as well. Mike Fleury, he's playing the Deuce as well, and his favorite team is the Falcons. Sorry, you're not getting the Falcons unless you just really want now their new quarterback. That new contract they just signed. Ugh. But anyway, I think the Vikings. I think he's probably the most stable owner and play caller right now in that division. But we'll see what happens with Shiloh Bad. But, man, I would not be shocked, if anything, if all of a sudden Tim starts really throwing some wins together.
Last one, and then we're going to go final thought and wrap this thing up. Through 4 weeks in the OMFL's 109th season, we still have 6 undefeated teams: Bills, Bucks, Cowboys, Seahawks, Titans, 49ers. Do you think that there's a good chance of having more than one team going undefeated in the regular season? I'm going to let you answer this one first.
I don't think so. I mean, it's been real rare that we've seen even one team have an undefeated season, but I just don't see it. And obviously, 49ers already fell, so that's one that bit the dust already. So I think looking at that group, you probably got the Cowboys and the Seahawks at the best chance of going undefeated on the season. Titans may have a good chance as well, but I think you look at those 3 teams, and they could prove me wrong, but I don't think I've ever seen it with 2 teams.
I agree. I don't see 2 teams, definitely not 3 or more. I see all those teams except for maybe the Cowboys having a slip up. And with that said, the Cowboys don't have a spectacular offense. He doesn't have a spectacular quarterback. So I could see him maybe having a slip up. He plays such great defense. I would think if any of those teams would go undefeated, it would be the Cowboys. Not that the other teams aren't good and can't. I just think we all have those slip up games. You showed up tired, make a couple bad decisions, before you know it, it has gotten away from you. So PBC, thanks for hanging out with us today, man, being part of the group. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure that you do so. Mr. Maniac here and his board will take over and get you through the steps. We understand that our process is pretty different than most leagues, pretty more detailed and in-depth, but it's for a reason, because if owners are not willing to take those steps, then they're probably not going to be committed and hang in there and build a community with us. So anyway, one final thought, Mr. Maniac, take it away.
Final thought, putting together the agenda for the show. It is definantely not easy, guys. So I want to
get a lot of good ideas. You just tried to do them all today.
Wherever he's at on the screen, I want to give props to this guy because he puts together a tremendously great show each and every week for Past Best Live. So be sure to let Nate know that you appreciate him and the time and effort that he puts in putting these shows together.
My final thought, I feel like I owe it to Trey, just unless... Did I catch you? Because you look like you froze. I didn't know if you were finished or if you just froze.
No, I'm
okay.
Good.
All right. It's funny because like on vertical, you'll freeze, and on horizontal, you won't. And then you'll freeze on horizontal, but you won't on vertical. I'm like, hey, YouTube, make up your mind over here. Poor Maniac. He lives way out in the middle of nowhere. So he's just got the best internet that possibly money can buy. I feel like it would be a disservice if we didn't pause and acknowledge that our third kind of party here, the guy that has been with me on Press Pass Live for like 2 years or something like that, our current defending champion, Trey, has decided to walk away from Madden. You will probably still see him in the community. At least I hope so. You will still see him on PlayStation. He's not quit playing games. And as I told him, I hope that we don't see him in another league, and that this is his home. He just feels like Madden is not good for his mental stability right now. He has Asperger's. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I think I am, but he has, these things that he has to overcome personally. And so that carries a bit more weight for him. And so I respect that. And it sucks to lose an owner. It happened abruptly. Let's honor the fact that he's still a partner of us. He is still our buddy in the OMFL. He's still in the community. It sucks that he left. But it also gave Tim his favorite team, which excites me. So wish Trey well. Hope he stays connected. He asked if he could continue to be a part of Press Pass Live. I asked him not to be for a bit because I just didn't want it. I just figured it would raise too many questions. Like, wait a second, he can't play in the league, but he's still here. So Trey will hopefully come back one day to the OMFL, but hopefully to Press Pass Live, and hopefully he finds a space that is safe for him and that he is in a better space to enjoy Madden. Maybe that happens through NCAA. So lots of stuff going on. I appreciate all of you. Thanks for hanging out. I got a pretty grandbaby to go love on and get my mind ready for tonight. If you are around, come join me tonight as I play Denbrew and probably get my rent money stolen from me and beat up and thrown into a hole somewhere. But hopefully I can figure out this interception problem. If anybody's got tips, please send them my way. I love you. Take care of yourself. Take care of those around you. We'll see you on the next one. I appreciate Maniac for doing the agenda today. It was awesome. Great show. Guys, I love you. We'll see you on the next one.
Later.
Smash that like and subscribe.